To keep or not to keep?
Hey guys, I'm Justin.
I'm Leigh.
Together we own Horrorland Media, and it's time yet again for another episode of To Keep or Not to Keep. This is where we go over, talk about, and review all of the movies that we've watched in the past 2 weeks or so, and we make those hard decisions on to keep or not to keep. So let's get right into it. I think 25 titles this episode, so we've got quite a bit. A lot of those are ones that I've had the opportunity to watch at work, so I've watched them alone. I'll start, we'll kind of mix and mingle a little bit. That way we're not just running through this whole stack first, but I'll go ahead and start us off with Severin's release of And Now the Screaming Starts. So I tried to watch this one. This one was a while ago that I had tried to watch this. It's like a gothic tale from the 70s. Kind of a supernatural ghost story. I honestly don't really know why I bought this one, and I think, if I'm being 100% honest, I think this was supposed to go directly into the convention stuff, and the synopsis made it where I pulled it out and put it in my collection. I did not care for this one. I did not finish it. I gave it about 20 minutes and I was bored to tears. And so I didn't have to open it because it was on Tubi. So this one for me, definitely a vote to sell. I'm not a real big gothic horror kind of guy anyways, because they're a lot of times just kind of slow. So like I said, unfortunately for me, this one didn't like it, vote to sell. And keeping it with Severin, we will do Bloody Moon. So Bloody Moon is a guy who has a burn on his face. He's kind of disfigured. He winds up having relations with this girl. She doesn't know it's him because he's under a mask. And he winds up being found out and committed to an insane asylum. 5 years later, he gets out and goes back on the trail. His sister now owns like a boarding school, so he has all the women that he can find. This is a Jess Franco film, another one that didn't hit for me. The story of this one's extremely choppy. Instead of being a film, this looks like it was made from like 100 million different outtakes. The story doesn't flow well at all in this one. So another one, unfortunately for Severin, gonna have to vote to sell.
Look at you.
I know, right?
So we watched Night of the Harvest. It was, I don't know who released this.
It's from Gravitas Ventures. It's just a low budget kind of independent company.
It was not a bad movie, but it was slow. It drug on and on and on. So in the beginning, it started out really good and it kept our attention. And once you figure out who the killer is, it still continues to drag on and on and on. So it was a little long for what it was, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, it's an hour and 47 minutes long. If that had made it like an hour and a half, it would have been probably been better. It's got a double twist. They reveal the killer, in my opinion, probably a little too early. I understand why they did it, because at the end there's another twist and they were kind of building towards that. But because of that reveal real early, yeah, it makes it drag in parts. But I agree, it wasn't a bad film. It's definitely one I would revisit. This one. I mean, the killer is cool. I love the mask. I love scarecrows, yeah. And that's kind of the whole thing with the mask. So for me on that one, I'd have to vote to keep, even though it was kind of slow in parts.
I agree.
Okay. Next up, from Full Moon, I did watch Blood Dolls. This one was actually pretty good. Definitely, though, you can tell this is nothing but a Puppet Master ripoff. This is basically this old eccentric guy. He's like a billionaire and he winds up losing some money. And so he brings in the people who kind of helped lose him that money and he turns them into these blood dolls. He shrinks them, he turns them into these dolls, and then he has full control over them and he sends them to do his bidding. And basically his bidding is to kill the people who took the money from him in the first place. Overall, pretty decent story. It is only 84 minutes, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. It gets in, it gets out. This one has done something I've honestly never really seen before. It ends, and then he's actually not pictured here on the cover, but there's a guy that paints his face. He looks like a clown like the Joker, and he comes up after the movie ends and he's like, for this film we couldn't figure out exactly how we wanted to end it, so for you guys here's an alternate ending. But it's part of the movie. It's not an edited out part. It's something that I'd honestly never seen done before. I thought it was a pretty cool twist. Overall, Blood Dolls, I vote to keep. It's a pretty decent addition to the Full Moon collection, I feel like. Next up, I did watch Night Beast from Vinegar Syndrome. I've been trying to spare Leigh from the Vinegar Syndrome. I know she doesn't like them. And this is no exception. She would not have liked Night Beast. The acting in this is miserable. Basically, you have this alien, and for lack of better terminology, he looks like a turd. I mean, literally, I think the alternate artwork there, that's what he looks like. And he comes down, and it never tells why he has come to Earth. You have absolutely no idea why. You just have the sheriff, and he's trying to find all these people to carry guns and help fight the alien. But then you find out guns don't do anything. You have to use like power and electricity. I mean, the kills in this are okay. Definitely a lower budgeted film. The kills are okay. The gore's good. Like I said, the acting is miserable. But this is one of the last Vinegar Syndromes that I wanted from like the back catalog. Overall, for now, I'm going to vote to keep this one. Again, Vinegar Syndrome holds their value, so I'm going to throw it up on the shelf if, 6 months from now I decide to do a Vinegar Syndrome purge. This may not last through that purge, but for now I am going to vote to keep.
That's the get rid of pile.
Oh, no. It is. You are correct. My apology. I put both of them in that, so look at there. Almost messed up.
Dang,
go ahead.
I should have just kept my mouth shut. Next up, we watched Desert Fiends, which is a Sean C. Phillips film, correct?
Yep, released from Gravitas Ventures as well.
Yeah. I will say, for the caliber of people that are in this movie, I was very disappointed. I'm not going to bash it because we make movies and, everybody has their own opinions. But I was not a fan on any level of this movie.
If you're like us and you watch the trailers before you buy a lot of this stuff,
very deceiving.
Extremely deceiving. So the trailer makes it look like this is a Hills Have Eyes kind of low budget. I'm all for that. I thought it was going to be monsters galore. I will say that the look of the people in the makeup, they look good. They look like mutated. But then you find out this, how do I word it? The sexual innuendos that go into the writing of the film for the characters. Each of them have a different, we won't get into it. But yeah, it ruined the entire film because it didn't need that. The gore in this is fantastic. But yeah, just overall, like the monsters having the sexual innuendo and thing that they do, I did not care for this one. Most definitely, I'm with Leigh 100%. The caliber of people, you've got Tom Arnold, you've got Scout Taylor Compton, you've got, who are some more, who was the blonde that Lisa Wilcox. Mm-hmm. You have just got a huge plethora of people in this, and
I would not have wanted my name on it. If I was a big name actress like that, I would not want to be in a movie like this.
Yeah. So, but I mean, here's the deal. They must have liked it enough because they just filmed part 2. I don't know if it's releasing later this year or early next year, but I know part 2 has wrapped filming. So, it is what it is. Definitely wasn't for me, though. Vote to sell.
Agreed.
All right, we are moving right along here. Next up from Cauldron Films, this is Contraband. This is kind of like this is 1980 action film, but this is one of those 80s action films that feels much more like a 70s film. I did not care much for this one. It was very high on story. It was extremely slow. Basically, you have this brother. These two brothers, they are smuggling alcohol and cigarettes across the border into Naples. I believe it's Naples. Anyways, doesn't matter. But they're smuggling those, Naples, Italy. And basically someone rats them out and they wind up blowing up the boat. They come back to the city trying to figure out who kind of ratted them out. One of the brothers winds up getting killed, and it sends the other one into even more trying to dig through everything, trying to figure out who did it. Again, though, extremely slow. 97 minutes. And I think I probably watched 45 minutes of this, and I felt like I'd been watching a 3-hour Lord of the Rings movie or something. And I love Lord of the Rings. That's not a bash on them. The appeal for me to get this one was because it was from Lucio Fulci. But definitely not a film that I enjoyed. Contraband, vote to sell. Another Severin. I watched quite a bit of Severin this time. This one is Enigma. Now, this one is a Lucio Fulci, Lucio Fulci. This is a Fulci that I super enjoyed. So basically, this one is these teenagers. They make fun of this girl. They wind up almost Carrie-esque. They set her up on this date with this guy. They're in the car, and then like he's kissing her and stuff. There's no anything else. They're just kissing. But then all the kids are in the woods, and they turn the lights on, and they're making fun of her because it wasn't real. And then she winds up runs right out in front of a car, gets smacked. She's basically brain dead. She is hooked up to all this equipment. And all these girls are from a boarding school. And so she basically winds up telepathically. Her brain is still connected, things like that. And she basically kills all of them that way. Like one of them is scared to death of slugs. And she goes to bed, and the slugs like cover her and suffocate her. Stuff like that. One of them is like really into, it's actually the guy that she was with in the car. He's really into his body. So like he's posing in the mirror, I'm so, so good looking. And like his self kind of jumps out of the mirror and kind of kills him that way. So definitely some innovative, cool kills, cool story. Like I said, a Severin film. I'm not huge on Severin stuff, but one that I really enjoyed. Vote to keep.
Flight Risk was our next one that we watched together. I don't know what kind of budget they had for this movie, but I mean, because obviously most of it takes place in a plane, like a private plane. But it actually was a really decent movie. Usually stuff like that's like one location, doesn't hold attention for very long. But they actually found a way to keep it, interesting, I guess. And I was actually really impressed with this one, just for what it was and what I expected it to be. So I definitely liked this one. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I did too, actually. It meshes. It's got quite a bit of comedy in it. This is not an action movie, though. The amount of times that they played the trailer on absolutely anything that you watched before this came out, you would think that it's an action movie, and it's really not. It has parts, but this is more of a thriller because, again, the budget's so small. There's not like a lot of explosions. There's not really even a lot of like gunfights or anything like that. But overall, it's got some comedy in it. It's got some really serious parts. All of it meshes well. I'm with you. I enjoyed it, and vote to keep. Next up, From the Dark. So this was one of those McKay's pickups. I got through several of those this time, so I was pretty excited about that. This is a Irish. An Irish film. This is definitely atmospheric. It's about this couple. They get stranded, and basically there's this monster that hunts them. We'll do simplistic and move right on from it. It's not a terrible film, but it's one that, like I said, very high on story. There's not a lot that goes on for the first little bit of this. If you're into atmospheric horror films, this will be one that you'll enjoy. I enjoy some atmospheric horror movies, which we'll get into here in a minute. But this one, for whatever reason, didn't hit for me. Vote to sell. Next up, Galaxy of Terror. This is one of the Scream Factory 4Ks that came out. I got all these. There was Galaxy of Terror. There was Humanoids from the Deep. And there was another one. Forbidden World. So we watched the other two together. Lee wasn't a big fan of either one, so I decided I would check this one out by myself. I wasn't a fan of this one. It does have Sid Haig in it, which was pretty cool. But it's, again, just one that's just out of nowhere. It's like this guy gets told he's going on a mission, and all of a sudden he's put into this room with this female who has been on 1,000,001 missions, and she's kind of crazy. She has her own team. You don't really know why they are deploying on this mission, really. They get there. There's like these aliens that just all over the place. I was not a big fan of this one. I like a lot of the Roger Corman stuff, and like I said, I was a fan of the other two that we watched, but not a fan of this one, Boat to Sail.
We watched Drop Zone with Wesley Snipes. It was a good movie. Mm-hmm. It was very action-packed. Mm-hmm. I would say it's not one of my favorite Wesley Snipes movies, but nonetheless, it wouldn't have been the same without him in it. No. So,
it's him and Gary Busey.
Yeah. Yeah, which I've told you, Gary Busey will forever now be the Ginger Dead Man. I can't really see him as anything else now. But, ultimately, it was a really fun, good action movie. So, didn't have a lot of thought into it. Didn't have to, it did have a storyline, and it was an important storyline. But if you watched the beginning, you were pretty... I feel like set for the movie on the storyline.
Yeah. Basically Wesley Snipes is a federal agent. He's transporting a prisoner, and Gary Busey is the bad guy. He rescues the prisoner, and you come to find out that this prisoner is a hacker, and they are trying to hack this database during a specific weekend where there's a parachute jump on the base because the security detail is at an all-time low, and basically they are hacking to get the names of other CIA agents and sell them to the drug cartels to make money, and basically for the cartels to kill off the CIA. Overall, it was decent. It was a cinematograph from Vinegar Syndrome. I don't buy a lot of those. The only other one I have is Red Rock West. I may pull the trigger here in a couple of weeks on a couple more just to kind of dive a little bit further into the line. But overall, I did enjoy this one. Vote to keep.
Okay.
Next up here, Day of the Dead, Bloodlines. So I actually really enjoyed this one. If you go into this and you look at this and you compare it to Day of the Dead from the 80s, you are going to hate this film. But if you look at this as a zombie film and you watch it for what it is, I think you can actually get some enjoyment out of this. So basically there's an outbreak. You have Max, this character named Max, and he's basically your bub in this one. But Max is in love. He is just crazy over his nurse that is taking blood from him. She's like 20 years younger than him. There's this outbreak. He winds up becoming a zombie. He has like her name carved in his arm. She winds up escaping, making it to a base. They wind up saying, hey, look, there's sick people in this base camp. We're going to have to expand our radius and go find medicine. She winds up getting the okay to take them back to the university where the outbreak kind of started. And basically Max follows them back to the compound, and they wind up catching him and they lock him up, and she's basically trying to use him to find the cure. It's exactly like Day of the Dead. Bub learned, Bub became smart. Max is the same way in this. He learns, he becomes smart, he remembers her even though it's been like 5 years. The decisions that she makes causes death within the camp, which is pretty much the exact same as some of the decisions the doctor made in Day of the Dead. So there's a lot of similarities. I understand why people wouldn't like this one, but I actually enjoyed it for what it was. So again, if you go into it, turn your brain off, don't compare it so much to the other, you'll be just fine with this one. So Day of the Dead Bloodline, vote to keep. Next up, I actually wish we had kind of watched this one together. I think you might have liked this. But this is, I just looked, Venomous, I can't remember. Venomous with Treat Williams. So I don't 100% know that this was a sci-fi movie, but I'm pretty sure this was a Sci-Fi Channel movie. From 2001, I actually thought that this was going to be, based off the cover here, a giant snake, kind of like Anaconda, and it's not. This is actually a super good film, surprisingly. It's nothing great. But you've got Treat Williams as a small town doctor. Years prior, there is this research lab that has been broke into, and all of these rattlesnakes that have been genetically altered by the military escape, and they hibernate. And years later, in this small town, there starts to be these earthquakes, and it wakes the rattlesnakes up, and they come from out of the ground. And they come and they bite these people, and when they bite you, it's not a regular rattlesnake bite. You have like 2 hours and you're dead, and if you you have any kind of excrement or anything that gets on another human, you infect them. And so basically the military tries to burn this entire town to the ground because they don't want anyone to know that their little experiment got out years ago. And so they're trying to kill everybody in the town. You've got the military sergeant, and he's like lying, saying, oh no, everyone in the town is dead. There's no hope. Even though, you know, these people are fighting this. Overall, it has a pretty decent storyline. I love the snakes because all of them were real. They weren't these big CGI like anaconda snakes. I actually really enjoyed this. So Venomous for me, going to be a vote to keep.
Alright, next up we watched Monster Brawl. I couldn't tell you who else in there. I know you said Kevin Nash was in it.
It's got Kevin Nash, Jimmy Hart, Lance Henriksen is a voice in it. Kurgan, if you're an old-time WWF fan.
Yeah, ultimately, it really wasn't bad. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And I liked the way they, you know, played the monsters against each other and how they had a big entrance for them for each match. So, I mean, it was straight up just a wrestling movie, but it was actually a lot better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody dogs this movie. They hate it, and I don't understand the hate for it. Again, it's another one of those, you're just going to have to turn your brain off. I mean, it's no different than a lot of other horror films out there. You've got a wealthy promoter who wants to promote a wrestling show, and he winds up getting all these monsters together, pits them against each other, and wants to make money off of it. And that's pretty much it. And I mean, overall, it was pretty decent. I don't understand the hate. Vote to keep.
Yep.
I feel like we're keeping a lot more of the stuff we watched this time, which is good. We actually watched some pretty decent stuff this time. Next up for me is 100 Tears from Unearthed Films. Everybody knows I love my clown movies. This is kind of Art the Clown before Art the Clown. And I don't really even know where to start with this one. It was a tough watch. It's an extreme film. I knew that going in, so tons of blood and gore, guts flying everywhere, heads being cut off. But what I'm fine with all that. But what I was not fine with was the story, because it was so all over the place. It made no sense. Basically, you have this guy and girl who write for this tabloid, and they're tired of writing about who Bigfoot went on a date with last night, and so they pick to write about something real, and they pick the 100 Tear Killer, I believe is what, the 100 Tears Killer, whatever. And while writing about him, there is a big massacre at the halfway house. They go, they check it out, and there's a survivor, and she's like, he was dressed as a circus clown. And so they go to the circus, and they find out that there was a clown, and he was kind of outcast because he had taken advantage of a woman years prior and was wrongly accused of doing so. He said till the day he died he never did it. And so he just went through life with hate and killed everybody. The issue with this is it would have made a lot more sense if he killed people who outcast him to get his revenge. Instead, he's just a crazy killer who kills absolutely any and everyone that he comes in contact with. There's a whole extremely convoluted and weird storyline in the end with like him and now his daughter who didn't even know he existed. And how does he have a daughter if he didn't take advantage of this woman? And then like you've got the tabloid writer, and her sister works for like the FBI. So she's always just like, hey, I heard there was a murder. And, you know, she's talking to her FBI sister. She's like, hey, I heard there was a murder. Me and him are going to go check it out if you're cool with that, and we'll report back if we see anything. And her sister's just like, yeah, that's cool. Go ahead. Makes no sense whatsoever. Like, what FBI agent is just going to be like, yeah, go check it out. That's fine. You're nothing but a tabloid writer, but go check it out. It just didn't make a lot of sense. I give him props for the blood and gore. Looked cool. The look of the clown looked cool. The acting wasn't bad. But overall, there's plot holes big enough to fit my fat butt through, and I just didn't care for those. So because of that, unfortunately, I have to say, vote to sell on 100 Tears. I really wanted to like that one and just didn't. Next up from Scream Factory here is The Final Terror. I look at the front of these, and then I can't remember by the time I hold them up. The Final Terror, I thought I had seen this one. I actually have not, though. It was really good. You've got a camp. They wind up going into the woods, and they are, of course, telling stories around the fire, as all of these 80s movies go in the woods. And they wind up finding out that, again, there was a woman who was taken advantage of, and she had a baby. This baby was kind of given away, and years later, a man shows up. It drives her mentally insane that she has gone through this. Years later, a man shows up claiming to be her son, and he says, "You're not going to hold my mother like this," and he takes her out and he hides her in the woods, the same woods that these kids are in. And she is just left there to live out her days and everything else, but she becomes very feral. So, she's basically like a rabid animal. And she just goes on a killing spree with all these people that are in her woods because they don't need to be there. Simplistic story. Is it the best wood slasher of the 80s? Absolutely not, but definitely a decent one, and definitely one that I vote to keep in the collection. So vote to keep Final Terror.
Okay. Next up is Masked Mutilator. I think you probably enjoyed this one a little more than me. I was not a huge fan, but I don't know. It was just slow. It was kind of all taken in the same house. I guess it's kind of like a, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like a home for, kid, like juveniles that are troubled
youth,
or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I was not a fan of this one, but.
Yeah. Masked Mutilator was a film filmed in the 80s, and then 30 years later, they wind up getting together and finishing it. The wraparound is basically two kids from the the troubled youth house. They basically have grown up, and now they are telling the story of the Masked Mutilator. You think that it is this big burly guy who used to be a wrestler. He accidentally kills another fellow wrestler in the ring, and so he no longer can wrestle and is put as kind of the den father, I guess you could say, of these troubled youth. And all of a sudden, the troubled youth start kind of dying off one by one. Everybody thinks it's him. Pretty good twist at the end. I would agree that it's slow in parts. It's not the greatest film at all, but I actually did still enjoy it. So I think it sounds like we're going to have our first split decision of today's episode. I'm going to vote to keep it.
Well, I vote to sell, but we all know my vote doesn't matter, so go on and put it in the keep pile.
I will keep that one for now. Again, that's one that as we go through the collection, it very well might not stay. Won't you go ahead and do this next one, though? We'll get this cinematic masterpiece out of the way.
Next one is Wrestle Massacre. I don't even know where to begin with this one. The hash line on the back is WWE meets Mortal Kombat. There is nothing about Mortal Kombat in this movie that would even compare.
Ha! It's rough. Basically, I don't really even know the story of this one, if there is a story. You have this gardener. He always wants to be a professional wrestler, and basically he gets in trouble over his gardening because this guy thinks that he's looking at his wife, even though he's not. They fire him. He goes to wrestling camp. He takes that as a sign. I need to go to wrestling camp. I've been fired. This is my chance. He goes. He can't cut it in wrestling camp. Everyone makes fun of him. And basically he just goes crazy and kills everyone while wearing his wrestling gear. It's not great. The gore effects in this are okay. It is cool for the cameos. You've got Rene Dupree in this. You also have some of this. The wrestling school they visit is actually Handsome Jimmy's wrestling school, so that was actually really cool to see that. It does have Nikolai Volkov in it as well. Sandman is in this of ECW. But yeah, even you can have 1,000,001 cameos, but if the story sucks, it don't do you no good. And this one was pretty rough. So most definitely for me, vote to sell.
Sell.
Next for me is going to be Vacancy 2. I actually really enjoyed this. I may actually, and I will probably get a lot of hate for this, but I think I may have actually enjoyed this one more than part 1. So this is the first cut, and basically this is the story of how it all gets started. So basically you have these, I think they're brothers, and they take their visitors that visit their hotel, and they put them in rooms that are bugged with video cameras, and they tape their intimate moments, and they sell these tapes. And so this guy comes in, they think he's got his lady with him, and they think they're going to get a real good video out of it, and he takes her in the room, he wraps her in plastic, and he kills her. And so they wind up going in, and they kind of barge in, they knock him out, but they're like, hell, what do? We can't call the cops on him because then it'll undo our entire operation. And so the killer's like, look, your little videos that you make, no one wants to see that. They want to see real live killings. So what you need to do is, if you bring them in and you put them in the room, I will kill them and we'll sell those tapes and I get 50%. And so they basically find this couple that is traveling. They are going back home to where the girl is from to basically live with her parents. And he has his best friend in tow. And they put them in the room. And because there's 3 of them, all hell breaks loose. They can't get all of them in one foul swoop the way they normally do. And I mean, overall, this one's pretty good. I enjoyed this one a lot. I really don't understand why this one does not have a Blu-ray. Hopefully one day we can get a Blu-ray, even if it's like a double feature from Viavision or whatever. I would really like to see this one get some Blu-ray treatment, though. I super enjoyed this one. Vote to keep. You can go ahead, because I'm going to have to redo the cover of this one.
Yeah. All right, next is The Unborn. Again, this is like couples that, you know, are having trouble with getting pregnant on their own. They need some help, artificial insemination, and they basically go to this doctor that is experimental. I don't know, it never really says whether they know that or not. I'm guessing not, but we didn't finish this one. We watched a good portion of it, and we even attempted to try to skip a chapter or so and pick it back up, but it got to the point where it was just beyond weird, and so we ended up not finishing it. But I definitely was not a fan of even the experimental portion of it. It was just way out of proportion from what it should have been.
The end may have had something to do with the unborn child. Again, we don't know. We didn't finish it. But really and truly, the 40 minutes that we watched of it is just a deep dive into this woman kind of spiraling out of control. She's starting to have these mood swings, and the mood swings get worse. And, I mean, that's really all that it is. There's not a whole lot of substance there. I'm assuming the opening sequence where, like, there's a completely opposite woman that goes into labor, and of course, I'm not sure if the baby's actually born or if she just kind of, her stomach explodes.
It doesn't really show.
But like, I'm assuming she went to the same doctor. I'm assuming we're going to get something like that at the end of this one. But again, with so much to watch, I mean, if it doesn't grab our attention in the first 30, 40 minutes, it doesn't matter how good the ending is. I'm not going to put a movie back in just to rewatch the ending. So yeah, I didn't care for this one either. Vote to sell. Why don't you go ahead and do another one before I do?
So this one is Nightmares is this year's sleeper. So this is an anthology. It's got 4 short films in it. I think they were about 25, 30 minutes a piece, something like that.
Yeah, something. Yeah, probably. Yeah, between 20 and 30, some were longer than others.
It wasn't bad. I'm not a huge anthology lover, but it wasn't bad, and some of the short stories were better than others, but
it's the way with any anthology.
They were more, to me, honestly, more thriller than horror.
I'm not sure. This really struck me as kind of a made-for-TV movie. I'm not sure if it was or not, but it kind of struck me as that because there was no nudity, there wasn't hardly any cussing, and the blood was very minimal, if any at all. There was a story about a rat, and that was really the main one with blood. Yeah. So it kind of made me think maybe this was like a late night CBS kind of movie back in the day. I don't know that, but kind of made me think that.
Yeah, and it wasn't bad. It's just I don't know. I thought some of them were better than others, and I definitely think it was more thriller than horror.
The Chainsmoker, which is actually the first story, that could have been made into an entire film in and of itself. I really enjoyed that one, and I felt like it was rushed. Your second story is Emilio Estevez playing a video game nerd, and he is trying to beat this game, and basically becomes one with the game. You have a story about a preacher or a priest with Lance Henriksen. I didn't care for that one at all.
No.
I actually hated that one. It was the worst one for me. And then there's one about rats. All of these starred somebody that you knew pretty much. I didn't know anyone from part 1. But I'm sure there was someone.
It says Christina Rains, but I don't know, from the Sentinel.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
I don't either. If you were a fan of 80s stuff, though, I'm sure you would probably know who she was. But all the other stories, I knew who was in them, so that was kind of cool. Again, kind of a wraparound. This does not have any kind of a wraparound story. It's just 4 separate films. Again, I like the Chainsmoker. I like the one about the rat. I thought Emilio Estevez's was pretty cool. It was kind of a different take on an arcade video game for the time. Hated Lance Henriksen's, but it is what it is. I hardly ever like all the stories in an anthology. So for me, vote to keep.
Okay.
Alright, so next up here, I had to do some changing of the cover because Vinegar Syndrome put nudity on the front cover of the other, but this is Murder Rock. And this is another Lucio Fulci film. Lucio Fulci. This was one of the last ones that we were waiting on, so to speak, to come to disc format. This had not really been on anything, not had a good transfer. There was an older Blu-ray, I don't know if it's Code Red or who did it, but it wasn't that great. This is a 4K though, super nice, another Giallo kind of esque film. Basically this woman has had an accident years prior and it has taken her professional dancing career from her, and so she now owns a dance school, and all of these like new, young, promising girls that can dance kind of start showing up dead, and so you kind of start wondering why. Like I said, it's kind of the Giallo. They do a good job of deflecting, making you think that the killer is someone different than who it may be. Overall, I enjoyed Murder Rock for what it is. Vote to keep. You want to go ahead and do Dark Hall? I'll try to fix this one back in the box.
All right, we watched Dark Hall with Tom Sizemore. I did not think this was terrible. I think I probably enjoyed the beginning and the end were a little weird for me, but the middle portion for me I was good with. So therefore I think I probably liked it a little better than you did.
You did.
But I mean, what little bit you do get to see the monster in this, it is very CGI, which is a big deal for him, not as much for me. But I mean, overall, I didn't think it was a bad film. It was a little weird, the relationship between the monster and the sister of the monster, and the way she tries to, per se, control him. That part was a little bit weird, and clearly in the end it didn't work, but I don't know. I didn't think it was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't hate it as much as what I thought I was going to based off the reviews that I had seen. But yeah, the CGI monster looked really, really bad. And the worst thing about this film is the fact that they do have some close-up of the monster, and he looks awesome when he's actually in, like when they have a person in the suit that they had made. But the CGI looks really, really bad. It was a made-for-sci-fi movie, so you can imagine, think Sharknado, but with the Jersey Devil instead. It was okay for what it was, but definitely not one that I'm ever going to watch again. I hated the ending of it and the way that it ended. I'm going to have to vote to sell.
Okay.
It's not a terrible movie. If you let other people review this for you and tell you that it is the worst piece of crap they've ever watched, it's not. I mean, it's not a terrible movie. The CGI for me is a really big thing. So we'll end here with Second Sight's release of House
of the Devil.
House of the Devil. I'm telling you, it's terrible. House of the Devil. This one is a super fun film. I'd said before when I opened this one that I didn't know if I was going to like it or not because I remembered it being slow on my first watch years ago. And it is still slow, but I got a lot more enjoyment out of it. I understood a lot more that went on. Basically, you have your main character. She is a college student. Her and her roommate couldn't be more different. She gets a house for rent, but she has no money. And so she winds up taking a babysitting gig out in the middle of nowhere. And basically, it's not for a kid. It's for the woman's mother. And she thinks it's a little strange, but they're just like, we never go out, we never do anything, and she's never hardly ever left alone. So we just want someone here in case anything happens. But come to find out, they're not innocent. They actually are part of a cult. And they basically, it's a full moon or whatever, and they're trying to basically raise up a baby to the devil, I guess. And so how they kind of do that, they need a virgin. So they have her babysit, and you can only imagine what happens. It's good. It's bat crap crazy, but it's slow. Know that this is slow going in, but if you're good with slow burn, atmospheric, creepy films, you're going to enjoy this. And I will say, the girl doesn't have a car, so she has to like be dropped off. When her friend drops her off and leaves, and she is confronted by the man walking down the road, giving her a cigarette, that scene actually made me jump, because the ending of that scene came from out of frickin' nowhere. Yeah, and not much makes me jump, like not much catches me off guard, but holy hell, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know, like it comes from out of nowhere. But overall, really enjoyed this one. Vote to keep. So, yeah. Overall, did pretty good here. Out of 25 films, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to get rid of. We'll go through these right quick. We've got Dark Hall, The Unborn, Wrestle Massacre, 100 Tears, Galaxy of Terror, From the Dark, Contraband, Desert Fiends, Bloody Moon, and now The Screaming starts. So those is our pile for sale. We've got several to add to the shelf. So yeah, overall pretty decent little couple weeks here. So I see the camera ticking down. We're fixing to run out of time, so we'll kind of abruptly end this episode. Follow us in all the social medias down below. Make sure that you check out our other series, Welcome to Horrorland and One Fall to a Finish with me and Dan, and we'll catch you next time on To Keep or Not to Keep.
To keep or not to keep.